Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Interviewing the Greats. Today, a very almost non-sales focused interview with Charlotte Harris, an incredible role model in her space. And without any further ado, please, Charlotte, take it away. Introduce yourself. Who is Charlotte Harris? And
Brilliant. Thank you, Alex. So my name's Charlotte. So I currently work for the NHS in our mental health trust in Leicestershire. I also have a business where I'm a clinical hypnotherapist, supporting people with a number of addictions, particularly sugar addiction. And I also am a yoga instructor. So it's all the world of health and well-being is what I do to help people feel good, feel well, and feel safe and be safe enough to be themselves.
I'm already excited for where this interview is going to go. So just to quickly set the scene, one of the biggest pivotal moments in my career was when I came up with a piece of training called The Feeling of Home. And it's essentially a sales training and emotional intelligence blended into one conversation of like, how do I want to leave someone feeling? So having Charlotte on today to kind of bring that scientific, that experience behind it, I think this is going to be incredible. But it also explains Charlotte's very calm, zen-like demeanor, because you came into call very, very calm, and I love it. So very, very excited. So let's get straight into it, Charlotte. Run me through. You're doing three big, almost career moves. You're running a yoga studio. You're working for the NHS, right? So. And one other thing, right? So it's run me through, how did you decide to go down these three different avenues? Run me through kind of back 19, 20, whenever you began your career. Run me through how you decided these three things.
So for me, I've always had an interest in mental health because a number of my family members really struggled with their mental health, and that's what shaped me. And I wanted to be able to help people in a way that was going to provide that support that I needed when I was younger. And so really, I was always interested in psychology and well-being, and that really looking at mental health in a holistic way. So away from medication, for example, seeing what alternatives were available. And because I grew up within the system, so within the health system and support that was given to me and my family, I really wanted to be able to be part of that, to shape it in a way that I know would be able to help me when I was younger, so I could help other people in the same way. So in terms of my business, I set that up a number of years ago. I've been coaching now for it's over 8 years, providing therapy and support to people. I've been working for the NHS. I believe it's the organisation that I work for, and really developed and grown throughout a number of different roles and different teams, and I've learned so much. And in terms of yoga, I also found that probably around 8 years ago as well, and it was a way that actually I was able to have place for myself, so I could have that calmness throughout all of the things that I do, as well as being a mum to my two beautiful children. So there's a lot that I do, but it's all within that sphere of well-being and being able to support people feel the best that they can, both within their body and mind.
So I want to go back to like Charlotte at that moment when you decided to move away from what we've had this support. I was very much in this kind of support system growing up. Could you just run us through the mindset side of things of like, how did you navigate those thinking around career path of actually, I want to now do something with this and give back? Because it's like to have it, to receive it is one thing, but to then go, you know what, like selflessly, I'm going to now give myself to this world, to this kind of industry. Could you run us through that thinking of like where you were at to go down that route?
Well, I think like most people, the career is not a straight line, is it? It's not always a direct pathway. And
I haven't met anyone yet that it is a straight line for them. It's like, oh no, I just do this. No,
they decide and that's it. So it would probably take me back to when I was 18. I was actually set up to have sponsorship from the Ministry of Defence. I was looking to do a scientific mathematical course through their sponsorship. So I was a child classed as being in care at the time, and I really well academically, given the circumstances. and I was able to achieve and get hold of that sponsorship. So I was all set up to go to university to become well, the pathway was going to be an actuary, which is like a really specific accountancy kind of role. And so, however, the universe had a different plan for me, and I actually fell pregnant with my son at 18, and so things changed. I then decided to stay at home and do my degree through the Open University. So I gained my first class degree in economics and business, and with some psychology modules throughout. And then we decided not to have such a big gap between the children. So I actually graduated in the July and gave birth to our daughter in the August. Then I know.
That's a big year.
That is a big year. So, but it's very similar. My final A levels, I was pregnant in my final year of my A levels all the way through. So, picking up my A level papers, I was 9 months pregnant. So yeah, I don't do anything by halves, but it's been amazing. and then from that I started coaching people privately to support them and building like my business as I went, very slowly, locally at first, and then really established it in 2021, established my limited company. But before that, I started working for the NHS and did a number of different roles at different apprenticeships and secondments, and went through lots of services, a number of our mental health services and family and children services, because that's where my passion is. As I said earlier, I wanted to be able to help families in a way that I know that would actually be able to support them, and make sure that everybody's well within the house, and that any issues that are there, make sure they're recognised and supported, and that families have the right resources. And then through that, I fell in love with yoga, and have been going to weekly classes locally, and did a training years ago, but have just retrained recently and opened my own yoga studio, as well as the therapy and my NHS role. So it's almost they've been in alignment, growing and growing. And yeah, just really, really picking up, especially within the last 12 months. There's been so much growth in all of them, and it's just amazing to be able to see the transformations in people and be able to actually make a difference and an impact. I think that's one of the biggest things, isn't it? Yeah.
It's the tangible and the intangible that comes out the back of our fruits and labour. It's the epiphanies, the aha moments in the classroom, in the sessions, but it's also after 6 months later when that person goes to that job, or they ask that person out, or they take that leap of faith in their own career or progression. It's this stuff is actually working. It's incredible. And what I want to try and do then with the rest of this interview is understand, how do we marry up what you teach people to do in terms of the experience you give in a coaching session or in a yoga studio, because they're very similar. How do we leave people feeling right? And then how do we encapsulate that into sales? Because as I said earlier, the pivotal moment in my career was when I wrote a piece of sales training called The Feeling of Home. It's now called Prospecting at Scale for large corporates and whatever, right? But essentially, it's like each step of a sales cycle, how do we leave someone feeling? How do we get into where's somebody at? Why are they there? And how do I take them on that customer journey, not our sales journey? Run me through some of the things that in coaching that people are coming to you with that they're struggling with, and how you help them navigate through that. Because sales is nothing more than that. I've got this issue. I need this outcome in this time frame. Help me navigate that. How do you do it when someone comes to you as a coaching client, or with yoga? How do you understand that and navigate through that?
I think one of the key things to do first with anybody, whether it's a hypnotherapy client coming to resolve their addiction to sugar or alcohol or drugs, smoking, or it's they want to improve their mental and physical well-being through yoga, is listening to them. That's the key. If you're able to make someone feel acknowledged, listened to, and seen, they're able to open up and actually develop within themselves. And there's a really simple way of doing that is just, like I said earlier, actually, didn't we, is to make somebody feel at home and psychologically safe. It's a very simple way is just to ask a question and actively listen. So actively listen, we talk about it a lot, don't we? But very, very often we recognize we don't actually do it. We're waiting to speak over someone and provide them with whether it's prescription or tell them what to do and what they should be doing. Whereas actually we don't know. Everybody has their own story and their own experience, don't they? And they know what's right for them. So this is something that I teach in all of the sessions that I do, is that everybody has the solution within inside them. We just have to be there to facilitate uncovering that. So just allowing them to talk, they'll then recognize what they actually need. So very often, and you'll probably find this as well, is people will come with something or may not recognize their need. That's the biggest thing, isn't it? They don't know what they actually want or what's going to support them get to the place that they want to be. So lots of people come to me for general therapy, and then once we start talking, we might uncover an addiction, an unhelpful behavior, trauma that's unresolved, and so on. And by me listening to them, they're able to open up, and we're able to recognize what they need in that moment, what solution's going to work best for them to get to where they want to be. Yeah.
So I've always broken this because it works at each stage of sales for me, because you've got the discovery stage, you're kind of asking good questions and understanding the unconscious incompetence. I don't know what I don't know. Of how do we help you actually understand, is there an issue here? Is there a real problem? How big is this issue? And it requires, what I've found is three main kind of real crucial ingredients. The first is the environment that you're coming into. Do you feel safe? You used that word earlier on. Do you feel safe to actually tell the truth? And then that other word, which is vulnerability, right? Let's ignore authenticity, because I think that's a bit overplayed these days. But can I tell you the truth? Can I be vulnerable? And then the flip side of that is, can you actually listen to understand what I'm trying to say? Don't answer me. You talked earlier on about someone just waiting to jumping in. Can you actually listen to understand, well, what is Charlotte saying in this moment? And then the third thing is, don't try and be the hero. Don't solve my problems. Help me facilitate that answer on my own. So let's like, if you agree with those kind of like the three areas, the environment, the asking the good questions, listening, and then kind of like, don't be my hero. How does somebody actually do that from like a therapy standpoint? How do you, as a therapist, even if you've got the answer, even if you do this, how do you kind of hold that constraint and not just leap in with a resolution?
So it is a practice. It is a practice, and I'm sure you're the same. When you've got that knowledge, you have all made that primal. You want to help them straight away. You want to give them the solution, but actually they know what's best for them. And if you jump in too quickly, you'll take them on a path that's not right for them, and they won't see the same results. So it's almost by allowing them to ask a question and then remaining silent as much as you can. One really simple way to help people feel acknowledged and heard and safe is to use something that I'm sure you'll use, is reflect and repeating. So if you came to me and you said, Charlotte, I just don't know what to do. I'm feeling so stressed. I've got all of these things. I'm really worried. I'm not sleeping well. I'm not eating well. I'm just feeling so overwhelmed. I would simply say, you're feeling so overwhelmed, and then be quiet and let you just talk. Because what actually happens in the brain is, when we reflect and repeat somebody's language and words, is they're able sometimes to hear what they've said for the first time consciously. So subconsciously, they're just saying, I feel overwhelmed. I don't know. I can't stop eating sugar. I don't feel right in my body. I feel uncomfortable. I'm not making the money that I want. I'm not in the role that I want. I've not got whatever it might be. I don't feel comfortable with myself. I'm not able to be myself and feel at home, like you said. It's that very simple way of using their language allows them to hear their words for the first time, so that they feel understood and listened to. And by you repeating it in the mind, they're actually able to consciously process it. Because a little bit like what I said is that I feel stressed and everything else, that cycle, those words go round and round in their subconscious mind over and over again. But when we reflect and repeat, they actually hear what they're telling themselves and suddenly go, wow, I didn't realize I was doing that. I didn't realize I needed that. I didn't realize I felt like that. And like I said, by actively listening and sitting there quietly and letting them reveal almost what they need in that moment is so powerful. And you see the look on people's faces as the cogs go. They suddenly start working out what's been going on, because they're so busy all the time. They actually don't ever have that space and time to really process psychologically what's going on within their mind, what they're saying to themselves, as well as how it might be affecting not just one part of their life, but a number of different areas of their life. And it's almost like I said, very, very powerful. Then they're able to have clarity of what they are experiencing, and then be able to recognize with that facilitation what they need. Yeah.
In over a decade of selling, what I've realized is that when I have to link it back to objection. So when someone says something like, I don't trust that, I've tried this, I've done that, 9 times out of 10, if we think about the iceberg theory of that, the 10% you reveal at the start is masking 90% what's really going on underneath. And I always use I like the dynamic of a relationship, because we can 9 times out of 10 we can all relate to it. And the argument I always either refer to the film The Breakup with Vince Vaughn and Jennifer Anderson, right? That scene 25 minutes in the kitchen, and she says, I just want you to help me do the dishes. And he says, why would I want to do dishes? And he talks about bringing 3 lemons, and she wanted 12 lemons and all of this stuff. And it's the best demonstration of, I'm going to listen to answer. You wanted lemons, I got you 3, I wanted 12. Instead of, well, how did it throw you back? Not helping the centerpiece to your dinner party. Well, I put a ton of effort into that kitchen. I put a ton of effort into that. You didn't appreciate that. And you couldn't even bring me the amount of lemons to help finish the table. So run me through where that hit you. Where did that get you? What would you like me to do next time? Instead of, that's what the listening to understand is, but the listening to answer is, yeah, but I always do this. And then he throws out, I just want to come back and I just want to kick my shoes off and I want to play on my PlayStation or whatever. And it's like, I want this and you're not giving it to me, instead of this kind of like back and forth of listening. And sales is no different. We hear an objection, we hear something, and we immediately go, well, that's why we're better, or this is why you need to do that. And we don't actually listen to what's going on underneath the surface. So let's now go back to Charlotte. As you've gone on this kind of like this career path, what's been some of the steep learnings for you along the way? Because obviously you've chosen a career where like you've got to really kind of like understand your triggers, your experience, and not bring that into the room of what do I wish I had. How have you navigated that kind of journey?
How have I navigated that journey of separating
Charlotte from client? Yeah, so like if you get a trigger that's like, I don't know, whatever of experience, how have you kind of navigated that through your career?
So for me, in terms of being in a clinical role, we have something called clinical supervision. So we have a space to actually discuss how things might be affecting us, making sure that we have that kind of governance and separation between ourselves and our own thoughts and feelings and opinions to actually that clinical space. So it's almost of having that step away and making sure that we're prioritizing our own health and well-being. So if I'm not well, if I'm not making sure I'm taking care of myself, then I'm not going to be able to provide the best service to that person. I'm going to maybe if I've not slept well, I've not prioritized sleep, I'll feel irritated, and it might then mean that I'm not at my best to be able to provide the best service for other people. And in terms of that separation, you have to become really self-aware and checking in again, coming back to that idea of objections is it's always a great opportunity to validate someone's objections. So as soon as you've got them in that space of active listening, that validation, as I said earlier, is almost like an acknowledgement of what they've said, and then stepping back and really listening to their story. And again, it is a practice. It's something you have to practice over and over again, because you just want to defend like the theory that you're trying to teach someone, or the hypnotherapy technique that I'm trying to give someone. But you need to listen it from their perspective. So I always like to think of it as you're walking alongside them, rather than you're telling them and pointing the finger and leading them. You're walking alongside them in their journey, whatever that might be, in terms of therapy, their health journey, in sales, what your service you're trying to provide, or goods you're trying to sell. Got to understand everything from their perspective, and making sure that you're, like I said, taking care of yourself, having a space to actually recognize that you're keeping within ethical guidance, as with sales and therapy, and making sure that you've got that space for yourself. So whether it's journaling, whether it's exercise, whether it's whatever that might be. It's different for everybody, isn't it? But it's that self-awareness. You need to continuously learn and develop yourself, and have almost that check-in to make sure you are separating, so that when you're on a call, you're not bringing anything else. It's almost like leaving things at the door. So I always do really simple techniques of, I'm always dressed professionally, obviously for a call. I include shoes, so I'm always wearing shoes on a call. So it's almost you're in that mode, that professional space, isn't it? So it's just a psychological trick to use, that when you sit in this space, this is who you are. You're leaving your
I maybe need to take a leaf out of that book, because I've got Crocs on. Maybe not quite as professional. What you've reminded me of is funny enough. I haven't taught this for probably 2 years now, but I came up with an acronym called MIC. So how do we prepare to take on the microphone? MIC. And what it's around, it's 3 letters, MIC, right? And it's the mindset, the intent, and the call to action. And the reason I came up with it is because what I found is that a lot of training focuses on the customer, and very few people taught how to have inward perspective of you as a person before you make a call. So what I thought about was like, why is no one talking about how this salesperson, male, female, whoever, right? How are they feeling before they make that call? Is going to resonate with how good of a call they have. So the mindset was this whole piece of training around like, where are you at prior to making this call? Have you been sat down too long? Have you just had a bad meeting with a manager or a colleague, or a bad call? Have you just had a great day and you want to celebrate? And you need to now have grounded enthusiasm, because you can't come in at a 10 when you need to be coming in at a 4, and all of this kind of stuff. And it's this whole reality check. And the intention thing, the I think is it is the second most important piece of it, because although you can have incredible intentions but terrible execution at times. You can have the best thought, the best intention, but it might not land. It's just the wrong time. The intention, though, is everything. The thought you have into something, the intent behind why you do what you do, I think is so crucial. And then the call to action is a sales terminology of like, always have something as the next step, because what you don't want to do is tease somebody up that you can help them and then don't tell them how to do it. That's unfair and not very good. So, but that whole thing, Charlotte, I love that you brought this up. And the word that you said that really stuck out to me was the word acknowledge, never agree. The validation, you called it, the acknowledgement. What I've found is that I don't need you to agree with me. I don't need sympathy. I don't need you to agree. What I need is like, am I right? Can you hear what I'm actually trying to say? Do I feel understood? And then take me on the guide of how I actually solve this for myself, or in very rare cases, help me solve this. So incredible. We've kind of like 5 minutes of the interview. So I want to kind of encapsulate one really kind of like crucial question. If you look back at your career, what's some of the advice you wish? I'm just going to shut the windows because I feel like it might be a bit loud. If you think back to your career so far, what's some of the advice you wish you were given coming into the lines of work that you've joined? If you were to high level think about it, what's some of the advice you wish you were shared, or you wish someone had said to you?
I think one of the main things for me, I don't know whether it's personality or background, would be to access support. Don't try and do it on your own. Invest in mentors, coaching, training, and access a community. I think that's one of the biggest things in terms of for me. So I very independent, want to do it, want to work it out myself, whereas actually I could have saved myself a lot of time, energy and effort by investing initially, but seeing the rewards of actually accessing other people's expertise. And it also allows you to have that accountability as well. So if you're in a community as well, I did learn in time. So I've always had a mentor or coach, as also as a therapist, you also have, as I said, some kind of therapy as well. So it's always for me, one of the biggest things would be don't do it alone. Access that support and help around you, and invest so that you can tap into other people's experience and knowledge, so that you're able to almost jump ahead rather than going through it yourself. And also there's another big part of the ego is letting go. So if there's something that's not working, don't keep trying to do it. Go
Oh yeah,
look at
sunk cost.
alternatives. Yeah,
Sunk cost
absolutely.
is dangerous. The biggest example of sunk cost is I've been building this thing for 5 years. I
Yeah,
need to get something from it, but it doesn't work. I don't care. I
no,
need something from it. Just drop it out. So that's incredible. Well, Charlotte, we're dropping up onto the 30-minute time, so I'm incredibly grateful and respectful of your time. Any kind of like takeaway tips? Any final tips from you that you feel is worth sharing, or do you feel like those 2 points you just made were hitting it
I
home?
think one thing is just never quit. So you, like I said at the very beginning of the interview, I said no career's linear, is it? One of the main things is just never quit. You don't know how you'll end up where you're supposed to be. Be open to those opportunities, but yes, you can always choose your own path, can't you? So wherever you've come from, whatever you've done before, any experiences. You can choose your own path. You don't have to subscribe to the prescription that you've been given. You can make that decision yourself, can't you? Yeah.
I'm going to throw you a curveball. Actually, I'm going to go
Okay.
over. I'm going to throw you a curveball. In a sentence or two,
Yeah.
how does and push back if you don't think you can answer it, or not you don't think you can answer it. Don't push back if you say it's not an answer, it's an experience, right? How does somebody know what is worth pursuing? Because a second
Uh,
ago we talked about sunk costs. A minute ago we were talking about like giving up early and realizing that something's working, moving on and pivoting. How do I know if something if the juice is worth the squeeze? How do I know if that avenue is worth it to pursue
so
something?
for me, there's actually quite a simple answer
Yes,
to
let's go. What is it?
this. Is that
I'm
feeling?
writing down. I'm taking notes.
For me, it's always been that a deep, it's almost a deep sense of knowing if you have a passion for something, if you truly want to be able to achieve it, you will find a way. You will always find a way. Opportunities will come. Do not quit. So it's about the feeling rather than the external social norms or pressures or ideas that have been placed upon you. If you have that feeling and that passion inside you, go and pursue it. Do not stop. It might feel like you're never going to get there, but if you have that, you'll be in the top percentages. There's less competition at the top because people give up and quit, don't they? But if you maintain that passion and energy, you will always get there. There is nothing stopping anyone doing anything, and I truly believe that. From the circumstances I've come to where I am today, that's what's kept me going, is that almost
Amen.
like you said, passion and energy. But it's the feeling rather than all the information and things around you. It's that feeling. And all of the best entrepreneurs, all of the best, biggest organizations will say that it started, didn't it? It's something really small and they had to keep going because they had that idea and that feeling that it was going to work out in the end. So yeah, follow your body. Your body will always tell you. Yeah.
I'll quickly share. And by the way, I've got 2 more questions for you, and they're like fun questions.
Oh, have you?
I'll quickly share though. I remember when I left Amazon, I said there's a really significant person in a lot of our lives, right? This person said to me, I said to them, I'm going to go and change the world. I'm going to redefine the way sales is seen, and I'm going to make it about experience. That's what I'm going to go and do. And this person said to me, Alex, give up. You're not that good. There's better people than you with more money to go and do that kind of thing. Stick to what you're good at. And I said, what age did you give up on your dreams? Because to me, that's an internal reflection at that question. When we try and push someone off their path, when we try and deter them from success, to me, it's usually an internal monologue, than it is an external question. So it's, for me, it's nice that you've summarized it with that of like, if you've got something you're going to go and do, boy, don't let anyone stop you. So, lovely, Charlotte. I've really, this is so much fun. So, 2 questions as a side thing. Firstly, what are you working on at the moment that's a passion project of yours that you're really excited about?
So for me, I've launched the yoga studio, which is going.
Where is it? Are we allowed to know? Is it a secret?
Yes, it's in Leicester, which is East Midlands in the UK.
Yes. Beautiful part of the world.
It is. It's a very rural, some parts of Leicestershire. But the yoga studio is just incredible, and I had the opportunity to teach in London a couple of weeks ago, and I'll be doing the same again in September, and I can't wait.
Back in London?
Yeah, back in London.
Very cool.
So it's just wonderful to see people's being able to actually access that space and time for as much for their physical health. That's what they come for, and then they recognize the amazing impact it has on their mental health of de-stressing, managing burnout. And again, exactly what I said earlier is listening to the body. It will always tell you what it needs, and just having that is amazing. Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. I'm excited to see the development of the yoga studio. It's exciting. Very exciting. And good luck in September with London. So the final question of our interview, 32 minutes, we're 33 minutes slightly over, but it's been worth every second. What is your favorite dessert?
So for me, I specialize with my hypnotherapy in sugar addiction. So I don't eat any refined white sugar.
It was a trick question. Oh, I'm going to ask another one. Quick, Alex, think on your feet. No sugar. Everything. I've gone to like favorite biscuit.
I know. Now you're recognizing the sugar in everything.
Okay. You've got a day off.
Yeah.
You've got a day completely to yourself. The 2 kids have gone over this way. Someone's looking after them. The house is completely ready. Work is completely ready. There's no worries. What would you do? Complete day to yourself. What would you do?
To the beach. Go to the beach. Go swimming.
Nice book.
Yeah.
Get in the beach.
Just and completely away from everything. But yeah, there's something about being outdoors, isn't there, with our well-being. We know the massive evidence shows us massive impact it has. But water for me. So yeah, I'd be in the beach swimming, reading books. Yeah, relaxing. No cocktails, no sugar, no sweet treats.
Yeah, I'd say on this point, right? I'm currently on, and so I've got a big race in Africa in December. I'm going back to do this 400k through the desert in 24 hours. It's savage, and I'm currently stripping weight like no tomorrow. And I've come off sugar pretty much like 80-90% of my time's off sugar. Every now and again on a big ride, I'll have something just to kind of like get through. And the reason I share this is the first 21 days is hell. Like the first 20, it's weird what our body does, craving sugar in those first 21, 28 days, those first 3-4 weeks.
Yeah.
If you think your phone is addictive with dopamine, you try and come off sugar or coffee, and it's 10 times worse because your phone is quite easy. Turn off notifications, put it down, and just have willpower, and you can usually get through it. But you try and get off sugar, that is a savage thing. This is my biggest struggle in life.
Is it? Wow.
Well, growing a company to me is like, even though I'm riddled with ADHD, right, and procrastination is a thing, and all of this stuff, getting off sugar is the toughest thing for me because it's like, well, I've earned it, or I need it, or I
Yeah.
deserve it. This is my little win. I'm going to die one day. All of this, like, it's the hardest thing. It's so
And
tough.
it's all of that. And that's why I use the hypnotherapy, because a lot of people use dieting, and that's the worst thing you can
Yeah.
do,
So what? Yeah.
because
Yeah. Yeah.
it's so toxic, and creates that really negative relationship with food, whereas actually food is fuel. And like you said, we're trained, aren't we, to believe it's a sweet, it's a reward, or I deserve this, or you've got to live a little. All of those like sayings that we say to ourselves, or oh yeah, I've worked really hard for this, I could have a little bit, or to relieve boredom or stress, loneliness. People use food as to self-medicate, essentially,
Mm.
particularly with the sugary foods. And like you said, you've
Yeah. Yeah.
experienced
Yeah.
addictive behaviors, and you recognize just how difficult it is, which is why I like using the hypnotherapy, because we're able to change that, reprogram the mind at a subconscious
Mm.
level, so that we remove that desire for sugar, because we've learned
Is
that
that?
we weren't born like eating those chocolate bars and things like that, so we can unlearn it, and that's the beauty of hypnotherapy. There we go.
Yeah. And just in a high level, final question: is that like the EMDR stuff that I've been reading a lot about recently, or is it slightly different
So
to hypnotherapy?
it's EMDR is slightly different, but I use NLP coaching and hypnotherapy
Ah. Uh-huh.
combined.
Very cool.
But yeah, to be able to allow people to dissolve that learned behavior and that learned belief that's been ingrained, because the physical addiction is only a small part of the sugar addiction. It's that mental, psychological addiction of all the things that you've seen and heard, read about, and been taught around sugar is all locked in your subconscious mind. But if you keep trying to use willpower, you just reinforce it. It's actually, you need to resolve it at subconscious level to break free. Yeah.
I heard the other day, which I think will resonate and maybe a good point to end on, is
Yeah.
that seeking a positive experience is actually a negative experience because you're only reinforcing what you don't have.
Yeah.
So by seeking to give up sugar only reinforces that you're already addicted to sugar, but it's the attachment, the narrative we've encapsulated around it. I think that's what you were just saying. Is that right? I just
Absolutely.
have to internalize it in my own way. It's
Yeah.
like by me saying I'm going to give this thing up is actually a negative thing because it's like, oh, I'm focusing on the thing that I'm addicted to, therefore I'm out of control. And if I'm out
Yeah.
of control, I get scared, and therefore I'll fight against it. Yeah,
Absolutely. And that's the question that I ask people. They say, how do I know that I'm addicted to sugar? And I just ask them, have you ever tried to quit? And if you have, then
mic drop.
there
Of
we
course I
go.
have. My God,
If you need me,
Charlotte,
I'm here. There we go.
I feel like this could go on for another hour or two. This is not the only episode. Please, can I? Please, I'm going to speak to your PA again. We're going to get this
There we
booked again.
go.
I've loved every single second of this. Thank you for your time. I'm going to end the recording. If you can just hang around for 2 seconds, that'd be incredible. But for everyone listening, Charlotte Harris, I'm sure I'll put all of her tags and Instagram and LinkedIn, everything underneath here. Thank you for watching. Thank you, Charlotte, for your time. Really blessed, and us. Either see you on the next interview or we'll see you very, very soon. Thank you.
Thank you.